Are all promotions worth it?
If you are always going to be growing, you are always going to be uncomfortable. Replacing the team is also a valid strategy. I have people coming to me with questions like, I don't know about the morality of being here. Is people do not burn out when they're winning. The shareholders probably don't want me sharing all that.
Levi, Levi May, you
Yes,
are the
hello.
COO of Brickloot as part of Brava Brands.
Yeah, that's correct. I'm COO of Brava Brands, which has two different business units. The Brickloot, which is direct to consumer, toys, e-commerce, and then Business Bricks, which does corporate gifting, corporate swag, brick builds, Lego and brick builds.
Yeah, I've seen on your LinkedIn, I've seen a couple of these little like corporate gift, like the balancing. I thought it was so cool with the little Lego chain, like the two pieces balancing, seemingly denying the laws of physics.
That tensegrity build is really cool setup. How like the weight of it pulling down actually pulls it up. It's a really cool thing.
Yeah. I thought that was so cool to see. Like, what a fun company to get to work for.
Oh, absolutely. We're not selling insurance or anything boring. We're doing toys, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
A little easy there.
Yeah.
Do you know I work in insurance?
Oh no, I didn't know that. I was just taking a shot.
No, that's funny. I'm not a sales agent. I work. Well, I won't get into it too much, but I'm a product manager.
Oh, okay.
For insurance that we sell to like micro businesses online.
Okay, interesting.
And it's fun. You know, it's like not your traditional insurance company. So COO of Brickloot.
Yes.
And you've worked for them for how many years?
This is actually a fairly recent endeavor. I started July of last year with them. So 9 months-ish into my tenure there.
Okay.
Yeah.
So throughout your career, you've had a lot of promotions, I assume. To get to this point, you have to have been promoted along the way at other companies. Are all promotions worth it?
Oh, that's a great question. 20 years ago, Levi says absolutely yes, right? Give me the biggest possible empire. And there's still a lot of that in me as well. But with some maturity, I think it's different for every person, right? If you want money and power, then promotions are great. But I also know plenty of people who are really, really good at what they do, enjoy what they do, love where they're at, and a promotion can really become problematic. Recently, I've seen people go from, terrific marketers to being put in like the head of a division. Great promotion, great opportunities, but the expectations weren't clear. Their personality wasn't right for it, and it just created a lot of stress and a lot of suffering for something that didn't end up working. So the answer is no, not all promotions are worth it. Even if you do want power and fame and money, taking the wrong promotion can put you on the wrong path, right? It can put you in the wrong position.
And do you feel like that's happened to you in your career? Or have you had the blessing of only seeing others make mistakes?
Yeah, it absolutely has. And there's some caveats here. I think like if you are always going to be growing, you are always going to be uncomfortable, and you should always be a half step behind, right? If you're really growing and really, really moving. So with that caveat, I got promoted early in my career, and I think of it as one of my biggest mistakes, one of my biggest missteps.
The promotion early in the career?
Yeah. The promotion and reputation I had. By my mid-20s, I was being headhunted into companies to run things and to be the smartest guy in the room and to fix things. And that's super flattering, right? That's super exciting. And they throw money at you. And it's cool to be the guy coming in to fix everything. But there's during that early growth stage of my career, your mid-20s to your mid-30s, you need to be surrounding yourself with people smarter than you, right? Like you need to grow and you need to be able to put in the work and you need to have somebody say, you're wrong and here's why.
Mm-hmm.
And I promoted past a lot of that and would step into a room and have an idea and everybody would just be grateful I was there. So I wish I would have really put in the time and learned and had good mentors early on. It would save a lot of mistakes, and I think I'd be in a better spot for sure.
So you're also kind of implying, I wish I had not been promoted at that time, right?
Kind of.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Wish I'd have had more time to grow. I mean, at the time, no way.
Right.
Give me more. Walk into a room, be in charge of it.
And pay me more for it.
Yeah, absolutely. But I wish I could have worked parallel or underneath somebody smarter than me for a duration of time. Because then you get to your 40s and you've ran several companies and nobody's looking to mentor you anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Like you have to be the guy with the answers. Like I've been making this up for 15 years. How am I supposed to, And so long answer to your question. Yeah. I do wish my career could have took a slower track.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think that's a really interesting take. I don't know that I've ever heard anyone say, I wish I had not been promoted. And I kind of fed you that answer a little bit.
Uh-huh.
I do think people wish they could have learned more in certain stages of their career, but I think we often don't acknowledge that the high learning and the high growth stages are going to happen when you're not a senior employee. You're not a VP with a mentor. Some companies structure it where everyone has a mentor, but especially in like these lower level positions, you have built-in mentors, and that's not something you have to search out. Or if you're an executive, you kind of just have to turn to coaches or the owner of the company or some other figure that you're blessed to know, but it's not
YouTube
built
University.
In. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's a really interesting take. So you'd forego the money for the sake of the learning if you were to go back and decide to change it.
Yeah, if I were to go back, I would take more learning and education earlier on. Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100%.
Interesting.
Everyone's life's journey is different, and there's probably plenty of people more successful than I am saying, "No, you're wrong. You learn it as you go." For me and my path, I wish I'd have slowed down.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's something that I find myself wanting a lot, like to move faster career growth, faster career trajectory. Right now I've got the title of product manager, but what if I had the title of director of something, like that sounds so good. And then a year or two after that, what if I jump to another company and get VP of something, in my mind, it's like, oh, that would be so good.
That is good. It is progress. Sure.
But it's in these lower environments where I'm kind of a mid-level manager. It's in these lower environments where I think you get to make mistakes and it's not the end of the world.
Right.
You get to fail and learn rather than fail and be fired.
Yeah.
And so I'm thankful for that. Even though my heart aspires for so much so quickly, I find myself needing to take a step back and recognize I'm here in this season. I should be in it and experience it, rather than hope it's over so I can get to the next thing.
Right.
And as you're thinking about you 15, 20 years, whatever, however many years ago, as you're thinking about the younger you, now you're in a position where you're hiring those younger employees who are going to help grow your company. How do you identify top talent that you want to bring in?
Oh, top talent is an interesting term because the type of talent is what you want. And there are some scenarios where you just need somebody who is eager and teachable and has grit and you can teach them anything, right? And then there are some people that they may even be a little bit lazy, but if they know what they're talking about, right, they're still the right fit and the top talent. So to distinguish or to determine how you distinguish top talent, first you have to determine what type of talent you're looking for. Like in our current company here, Brava, we have had multiple approaches, but we're a growing company, we're a scaling company, and I don't need somebody to sit there and say, you guys are doing it wrong. I know what I'm doing. You guys are doing it wrong. I can't believe how dumb you are. What we need is people that say, this is how it should be. I want to walk you there, right? I want to help you figure out a procurement process. I want to help you develop these different pieces. And so attitude is what I'm looking for. And I'll tell people that in the interview. Sometimes my interviews can kind of be scary. I'll say, we're not an Adobe or a Google who's trying to like attract you with all its shiny bells and whistles. I'll say, these are all of the problems, and this is where we are in the stage of turnaround. Are you willing to work for that company? And do my best to scare people, scare them away.
Like, these are our biggest problems, and if this doesn't get fixed in 6 months, you won't have a job anymore.
Right.
Are you prepared to help fix these problems?
Yeah, absolutely. I give a whole spiel, and then I always ask 2 questions. Is this a company in a position that you are willing and excited to work for? And then 2, why would you succeed, not just at this job, but in this environment? And you get a lot of really telling answers, right? So yeah, that's how I screen, transparency, knowing what you're looking for, and then being transparent when you look for it.
And how did you come up with those 2 questions in order to screen potential employees?
Well, it comes first from people have to have passion for it, right? You have to want to do what you're there for. Particularly in this, we're 6-ish million, and we're trying to grow to anywhere between 10 to 20 and 40 million over the next few years.
And that's revenue.
Yeah, that's revenue. Yeah, that's top line. And so there's a lot of changes that are happening. There's a lot of maturation that has to show up. And that is not something a normal person sometimes can sit through and endure. You have to really, really want it. You have to really be excited about the product, excited about the people. Nights are going to be late sometimes. You're going to just figure out how the AP process works, and we're going to implement a new tool, and you're going to have to learn it over again. And you can't, it's going to be a slog. And if you don't have passion in the beginning, you're going to die. So that's the first thing, is to screen, like, you've got to have passion. You've got to want it. You've got to be excited for it. And then that second question is, prove to me. I know that you want it now. Okay, now prove to me why I want you. Why would you succeed? Open-ended, let them talk, and answers come.
Yeah, I think especially in your business, it seems this way. And I was having a conversation with some of my developers today at work, and they were saying, like, we build these products, we make these changes, and these are our software engineers. And they say, and then 3 months later, you ask us to do it again or to change it.
Right.
And I was like, yeah, if I think of a better idea 3 months from now, we are going to change, and we are going to implement a new feature, and we're going to build something new to this thing you just worked on. Right. I understand it was a lot of work, but that is, I hope, I think how businesses grow. You iterate, and then you realize, oh, we could do it even better if we do it this way. And I think it's often those, sometimes you need a home run. But if you just get enough at bats, you get people moving the bases. Yeah, you eventually get some points there, even if it's not a home run out of that. But yeah, I really I think those 2 questions are pretty interesting.
Yeah.
And I think something you said earlier is, if you're someone who always wants to be growing, then you have to acknowledge that you will always be uncomfortable.
Right.
Do you say that to your employees at work, or are you not expecting everyone to, like, be in love with their job?
It all depends on the position, right? Like my managers, yes, like you feel a little overwhelmed. Do you feel a little stressed? Okay, cool. Right.
Yeah.
Like we're all there, and that's great. And that's indicative that you're growing. Now, the guy on the assembly line that's just working part-time through school.
For sure.
Yeah. It's like, if you want something more, then talk to me and we'll grow something more. But I'm not trying to intellectually challenge you there. I understand.
Yeah, you understand. This is a part-time gig for me. I'm getting a degree in
Yeah.
digital media. This probably isn't going to be my thing.
Right. And that's okay. But in order to be a good leader and a good manager, you need to know all of the puzzle pieces, right? And maybe that guy on the assembly line does desperately want more. And maybe they're capable of more, right? You have to know that. You have to have some one-on-ones. You have to see what they're capable of and if they want to be more. And so everyone I have one-on-ones with, my direct managers, and even if I take skip levels, I ask, like, what do you want with leadership? Like, do you want this? And some people, absolutely not, right? Some people are wiser than I am when I was young and says, no, I want to be where I am now. And that's totally okay. Like, the ecosystem needs every kind.
Mm-hmm. So you've worked with a lot of teams during your career, not just at Brick Loot,
Right,
but your entire career. I'm sure you've managed a lot of teams.
Yeah.
How have you seen failing teams turn around? Has that ever been successful? Outside of removing everyone and replacing the entire team, have you ever seen a team develop and people really, really change and turn into a star?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. There are several examples. But it may, just to make a comment there for you based on what you've said, replacing the team is also a valid strategy. I mean, it sounds a little cold, but sometimes that is. But an example that jumps to mind here is actually at Brava. When I showed up, we had kind of a group. We had a group of production workers that were kind of cliquey and seemed more interested in TikTok, and it was really rough. My first or second day, they had actually chased what we thought was the best employee out the door, and I chewed on it for a little while what to do, but we went about resetting cultural expectations, diligent one-on-ones, team meetings, establishing KPIs, all of these structural things. And there are few people that I've coached or managed that I'm more proud of than Katie, who was just one of those girls. She took a strong leadership role. She was socially in charge of the room. She just latched onto KPIs. As she had some success, she wanted more success. And one of our key metrics is bricks per hour that they're able to kit and measure,
I love that.
Isn't that kind of fun? She took that team from 1,400 bricks per hour to today in management meetings. She reported 4,700 bricks per hour that the team is doing. So yeah, we did have to do some transplants and some coaching, but change that culture around, and awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So now and you mentioned her by name, so maybe she wasn't a failing employee, but it sounds like not a star player at the time.
Middle of the road. Yeah.
But now Katie and others, I assume, have stepped into leadership roles and are now a driving force within the company, bringing productivity 3 to nearly 4x of what it previously was. That's pretty incredible.
It's incredible. I have not been prouder of somebody than I am of her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shout out, Katie. Good job.
Awesome.
You can send this part to her.
Love it.
So let's reverse that then. What's the fastest way to demoralize a team?
Well, you look at why people do what they do, why they get motivated. They believe in a cause, they believe in the people, or they believe that there will be some sort of reward, right? Now, when you start playing with those mechanisms, right, they either lose trust in the leader or the vision of what you're doing, or they feel that the hard work doesn't matter, right? Then you can see a complete deflation. I was with a company where there was a general manager who worked really hard, didn't hit the numbers that they needed to hit, but worked really hard and loved the product and loved everybody there. And ownership let him go. And it was, immediately people brought into question like the vision of why they are working here. Like, all my hard work, does that matter? And, I have people coming to me with questions like, I don't know about the morality of being here anymore, right? I mean, those are big phrases. So it's a complicated situation, but when people's vision and inspiration is tampered with, or they feel that they're not going to get a reward, people check out, and they got to take care of themselves, and you gotta understand that it's been hard.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So would you say that the most common reason for a former, they were fine, they were operating at the baseline or whatever they needed to be, they were hitting acceptable metrics, maybe not overperforming, but they were doing fine. The most common way that those sort of teams lose interest and check out is because of a loss of morality or something else happening within the company.
I think that there's that's an interesting thought. I would have to think through all of that, but it absolutely, if people don't believe in what they're doing, it falls apart, right? Paychecks will get you so far, and there's a big difference between passionately engaged and contractually obligated.
Yeah.
Right.
And I've been both. I get that.
Yeah, I've been both as well, for sure. But I can see that switch flip in people, and sometimes you can come back from that, and a lot of times you can't. But when they lose faith in what they're doing, a similar idea that I tout is people do not burn out when they're winning, right? LeBron James is not sick of basketball. He loves winning, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's when you try and you try and you try and you just have somebody yelling at you that it's not good enough. That's when burnout happens. If all you're doing is winning, you want more.
Yeah.
Right? And when that vision changes, when you don't believe what you're doing is winning, or you just can't hit the moving target, that's when people burn out, stop trying. The switch flips, and I'll be here till they get rid of me.
I think I might steal that one, if you don't mind. People don't burn out when they're winning.
100%.
That's pretty good. They might get poached, but that's different.
That's different. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, they might leave because they get poached. But that's not the same thing as burning out.
It's not the same. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really good. I'll steal that one.
Yeah. I love it.
I was going to say, I'll write it down, but I don't have to.
Yeah, that's right. No, we got it. We got it recorded everywhere.
Yeah. So thinking about your current business, what are some of the biggest bottlenecks that either you've already solved or that you're still working on solving with a subscription-based business where physical products are shipped on a recurring basis? What's the biggest bottleneck there?
Oh, great question. We have subscription boxes. We have a couple of different versions of Premier, Lego exclusive, and Lego compatible. What's been the biggest bottleneck for us as we go through growth ramps is demand prediction, right? So we have to 90 to 120 days, doesn't seem like a long time, but that's what we need in order to get the cheapest possible order and shipment of new bricks in. Over 3 to 4 months, our demand can swing greatly, right? And so sometimes we think, okay, what's been the trend? Well, we're approaching 2,000 sub boxes, so we'll order enough product for that. things will take a hit, or one of our other products will cannibalize it, and then we've got 1,500 sub boxes one month, and you end up with a lot of excess inventory, and that cash starts to become hard to manage. So working out a good demand predicting model has been difficult.
And sorry to cut you off, but the fluctuation of demand, have you found that it's typically seasonally based, or is there some other driver of that?
Well,
of the fluctuation?
Yeah, absolutely. There's seasonality to it, for sure. Christmas, the whole economy lives and dies on Christmas, right?
That's what I've heard in the physical product space.
Yeah, e-commerce, especially a toy e-commerce company, especially, right? So yeah, you'll see it in our charts year over year. You've got December, right? Yeah, you'll see those big waves come through. So we try to adjust for seasonality. But one of the things that really hit us is how the different subscriptions will cannibalize each other. Right? We'll have we had close to 2,000 subscribers, and then we launched a more premium box, and we got super excited. There's 500 subscribers almost overnight. Well, where did those come from?
Existing customers.
Yeah, existing customers. And so now I've got 500 of this whatever left to, doesn't go anywhere, and we gotta find that. So there's some complexities as we try to innovate and then predict demand. As far as operational execution, one of the bigger bottlenecks is just being far enough ahead, right? It's a new company and everybody's got great ideas and everybody's shooting from the hip. But we need to be out months and months as far as our ideas and our designs in order to start those. And if you're not really on top of a schedule, like a little mom and pop shop tends to be, you turn around, it's like, oh no, we're 3 months out from something and we don't have an idea finalized yet, and you can cause some problems. So establishing milestones, laying out a schedule, and keeping a strict cadence with designers really resolved that. But there were several times we had to pay for air freight when we shouldn't have had to, and things like that. Yeah.
You incur some unnecessary expenses having to expedite things. So why, well, first, are you able to say the lifetime value of your customers, how long they typically stay with you?
I can talk in generalities. One, I don't have the numbers in front of me, and two, the shareholders probably don't want me sharing all that.
Right.
But in generalities, somebody makes a subscription service, it'll be around about a year. With our product on the toy side, there's a clear age frame that gets really excited about that, and then kids kind of age out, right? So we run subscriptions for a month, 3 months, 6 months, a year, and a year is the most popular package, most popular way to go, and people will stay for a year or a little bit more usually.
Okay. Yeah, so that kind of tees up my next question of why do you think customers stay? If they are staying a year or more, why do they continue to stay?
Yeah. Well, you'd have to ask all them to be sure, and we do some market research on that. They stay because it's cool and it continues to add. Value, right? We've done some experimenting with new product lines and new toys, and if it's cool and they like it, they stay for longer, right? That's all the more complicated it is when you run things that we run stuff in the sub box that don't make sense, or that they're not, there's no popularity behind. We'll see cancellations. I mean, customers will talk to you
So, Brava, Brickloot, and what's the sister company?
Business Bricks.
Business Bricks. I love that it's all Lego focused.
Yeah, isn't that fun? Uh-huh.
So how many employees would you say that you have between the enterprise?
Yeah, between full-time employees and significant contractors that we lean on, there's some up and down as you hire sales and you let go of sales and you adjust for capacity, but we float around 25 right now.
Okay, so pretty lean.
Well, yeah, in some ways it's we feel instinctively, you look at, you're 5 million and you've got 25 to 30 employees, like that. Sometimes that feels to me like there's too much, but it's just, there's a lot of high touch points, particularly in the Business Bricks area, because everything is custom. So you've got to have a custom designer for every project, and you have to have a customer service and account manager take care of every project. And we're not even just ordering 5,000 of a thing at once. We have to have every custom thing has to be designed and ordered. So there's just a lot of back office support that ends up there.
And a handful of part-time employees, right?
Yeah. Right, yeah, that fill in gaps. So we try to be lean. We're trying to be leaner, right? As we look at always, right? You want to be able to produce the most value with the least amount of cost. Yeah, for sure.
So as you said, you're trying to get to 40 million top line within the next how many years?
Yeah, probably within the next 5 to 10 years is kind of a target. I mean, we're looking at stair-stepping our way to that. Part of it is we have to, we got some lofty goals, and you see even now I'm kind of more wishy-washy on it than what a real executive should be.
Yeah, you said 5 to 10 years. In my head, I was like, okay, so maybe.
Yeah, so maybe. Because part of what we're doing right now is we're trying to discover what the TAM, right? What's the real total available market that we have here? Because at this stage, on the Business Brick side, because at this stage, it kind of feels, as quickly as we're moving, it kind of feels like infinite growth. We throw another salesperson at it with another quota, and they'll hit it. Like, how long can that really maintain?
Yeah.
Right? And the market will end up telling us when that stops. And so if the market doesn't tell us to stop, we'll be 10 million in 5 years, no problem.
Yeah.
Right? We'll be 40 million in 5 years, no problem. Right? So, but we don't, I'm a little wishy-washy because we just don't know. We're still filling out that market, and I don't want to make promises or brag things that just aren't true.
The shareholders might see this.
Yeah, right. Right. So, we're excited, and there's a lot of great growth.
Yeah, and with that, when the market does tell you there's no more demand for this service, you don't want to be over levered at that point.
Right.
We're like, we were budgeting for more growth, and that's not here, so now we're in a pickle.
Yeah, now we have 75 warehouses and 1,000 employees because we knew it was going to happen. It's like, no, there's a right way. There's a right way to do that. There's a right way to do this, and I think we're on the right approach to it. Yeah.
So at a small-ish company with potentially limited expertise in some areas.
100%. I appreciate you being polite.
I was talking about you only. I'm sure everyone else in the
company. I'm sure everyone else is fine.
No, a small-ish company with lofty goals that I think are probably achievable.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's a knowledge deficit because the company has not yet reached that point.
100%.
If the knowledge were there, it would have happened already, or it will happen quickly in the future. How do you go about solving these big problems when potentially no one in the room has the expertise required?
Oh man, all day, every day. And as small businesses grow and maturate, you start with people with passion, and then you get like generalists that get around them that know, and that's a little bit where I am. I'm pretty good at accounting, and I'm really good at operations, and I'm pretty good at understanding market trends, but I'm not like great. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not the specialist. I'm good. I understand HR, but I'm not like, you know what I mean? And so there are lots of times that as we grow and we maturate through the business cycle, we come across things we don't know, right? Like now you can hire to that. Really, right. That's what you need. That's ultimately the answer. But sometimes you just don't have the bandwidth. To hire a full-time super expert on this because there's just not 40 hours a week worth of this to do.
Maybe there's 15. And so we're not going to hire a full-time person for that. So we'll just try and muscle our way through those 15 hours of work.
There is a lot of muscling that just goes through, and there's a lot of chat GPT, and there's a lot of research. It's like, I need you to become an expert on whatever this is. And that works for a while. But as you try to jump, I think that works from your 0 to 1 million, your 1 to 4 million type businesses, and you try to jump from like a $5 to a $10 million company. Now, like, you start to see some real problems. Mm-hmm. You have enough employees that you need to bring on fractional HR to make sure that you are compliant and that T's are dotted and I's are crossed, as they say. You may have somebody, for example, right now, we need an order fulfillment system for Business Bricks, something ferocious, right? A single source of truth rather than a dozen different spreadsheets where we track things. Now I know about ERP systems. I know about NetSuite and Abyss and some of these other things, but those are way too big of a financial commitment for where we are. Mm-hmm. I didn't immediately know what type of system can fulfill this gap. So you reach out to some consultants, you reach out to some fractional people. We have an accounting firm that deals with a lot of companies in our space. And you just have to be willing to ask questions and keep your ears open and find that little fractional help here and there when it comes in, right? And we've got some really great people that give us some, we buy their time, but they give us some of their time to fill those gaps and to fill those knowledge where 40 hours a week wouldn't make sense for them. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so you mentioned renting the knowledge through a fractional employee or fractional CFO, fractional Chief Human Resource, CHRO, I guess would be their title.
Right.
Whatever fractional executive services you need, you can get that.
Right.
I'm sure at other points in your career there have been specific problems where you need to hire specific expertise, and you hire someone and it didn't actually solve your problem. Yeah. Has that ever happened to you?
Yeah, for sure. I want to be sensitive because there's some NDA and some non-disparagement that actually floats around the experience that comes to mind. But I certainly had a business venture, and we had vetted some of the different partners and hired to specifically to fill gaps that I had, and they just weren't able to in the right way, or we didn't work together. Like I said, there's a lot that I can't say there, which I think is indicative of how it probably
how they did not solve the problem.
Yeah, how they didn't and how I didn't solve their problem.
Yeah.
Either. Right. So it's tough.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you recognize the last thing you said there and how I didn't solve their problem. Mm-hmm. Because I had this happen to me, where I was the person being hired to be the solution to these problems, and I was not yet ready for the role that I was hired for.
Right.
It was back in my financial planning days, where I started as an intern, then went full-time under this other advisor who had a successful practice. Right. But needed he was trying to build out a team of advisors that I was not yet ready to be on that team. Mm-hmm. And he wanted me to be, and I wanted me to be, but then after, I can't remember, 7-9 months maybe of working together, I think we both felt it coming. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And we were chatting in his office one day, and he was saying, this isn't really working.
Mm-hmm.
And I was already mid-round interviews with my next job.
Right.
And so I said, I understand, no hard feelings.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's tough. And in the moment, my wife was not excited.
Sure. Yeah.
Since I was at the time and have always, I guess not always in college, but most of our marriage, I've been the primary provider financially. And so that was a little tough.
Tough and scary.
Yeah, a little bit of a strain because I didn't have any other offers.
Mm-hmm.
I had interviews, but
right.
But I think it was the right thing for us to separate at that time. And if he's watching this, still no hard feelings. I do appreciate the lesson that I got to learn. Fortunately, as not the employer who was losing money on the deal.
Yeah,
and
it's hard on both sides of the table.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And looking back, I think someone else would have been a better fit for that role. And I don't know if he still tried to build out that team. But hopefully it worked out for him.
Right.
I still think that if I had stayed in financial planning, then I just needed the experience, and then I think I could have been a better fit.
Sure.
But timing's not always right.
Yeah. Million different scenarios, million different places. There's a right place and a fit for everybody who wants to be there. And sometimes it can really come from a scarcity mindset. Right, and that's something I've wrestled with a lot. Like, I have to cling to this opportunity because what if there never is another one? Right, growing up poor or poorish, left really.
I also say poorish.
Poorish, yeah. Because there's a lot of people that, I should always be grateful for what I have because I had a very good upbringing compared to the majority of humanity. Right. But it did leave me with a scarcity mindset sometimes, and I've won really big, and I've had business ventures where I've lost absolutely everything, and I'm just keenly aware of how much it can go away, and so that scarcity mindset sometimes can really make you cling on to an opportunity that's not right, and it takes some maturity and some courage to say, I'm not where I need to be. Let me find where I need to be.
Yeah. On the note of having some courage, I think. So tell me if my assumptions are right. You've worked in a lot more companies. You've talked to a lot more owners and founders and executives. I assume from those that I've met that owners and entrenched executives who've been there a long time kind of have a narrow vision for what the company is and what it will be. So if that's true, how do you exercise creativity in an environment where the leaders or the other executives of the company maybe have a much more narrow mind of what's possible or what the company should do?
Well, sometimes a narrow vision is absolutely what the company needs. It's all about where are you in the company life cycle. If you have a proven methodology and a proven product, and you know that you have something right, and you just need to make it more efficient, like there's a time and a place absolutely to be narrow vision. Like, this is who we are, and this is what we do, and this is what I want, and we need to be as efficient as possible to get there. Earlier in a company's life cycle, you need to have some willingness to innovate and create and until you find what
to focus on.
Yeah, what to focus on. And that, if you're going to do that with an owner, or with a founder, with an executive, the first thing you have to do, in my opinion, is earn their trust, right? And that can come in a variety of different ways, but they have to trust you to be creative. They have to trust you to experiment. That could come from a resume. They could look at the resume and say, this guy has got it. Do whatever you want to do. It may come after 2 to 3 years of doing everything they tell you to do, and then you come with a very clean proposal as to what could be done next. That trust is earned in different ways in different scenarios, but if you want to be creative with that type of mind, with that type of individual, you got to do a lot to earn the trust first.
Mm-hmm. So trust is the key component to allowing successful creativity.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Because here's the trick. You're going to fail, right? And if they trust you, they can understand that and things can continue to go. If they don't trust you and you fail, then it's over and they were right the whole time and they just get more entrenched. You have to do things, you have to put dollars in that trust bucket and cash it out. And ideas and risk taking, there's bound to be a failure. There's bound to be a failure in there. And if you don't have any trust built up, immediately that gets shut down.
So whether this was you or someone else that you've seen, when was there a time where creativity was being exercised? We're thinking of a creative solution here, a different approach, and it completely failed.
Yikes.
This will be good if it starts with yikes.
Yeah. Well, I have so many failures in my life. It's hard to pick. It's hard to pick just one. But we'll take a recent example because that's what's on my mind. A brick company, like, we're all about creativity. Dream, build, and inspire. And we want creativity from the community and from each other.
Is that the motto of the company? Dream, build, and inspire?
Dream, build, inspire.
I love that you work here.
It's so corny. I just love it. I love it because because I absolutely believe in it as well. But talking about different levels of subscription boxes, right? We had mentioned that earlier. We wanted a real premium thing, and there's a lot of creativity went into it. It's like, well, what if we get community designers, and what if we do all of this, and what if we get trading cards of each of and the idea just got bigger and bigger and bigger and super exciting, and it's close to a lot of people's hearts, and just doesn't make any money. Right? It's just we tried and we went through a bunch of different iterations and we shifted how we did this and we shifted how we did this, and like, well, we just need to make it cooler. And there's a lot of creativity that went into it and a lot of people's passion, and it was just a miss. And bummer.
Yeah.
Right? Bummer. Yeah, like it really is. And I don't mean to make light of it, because I think a lot of people's consumer and employee, certainly my heart is on the broken hearts list. But yeah, a lot of creativity, a lot of freedom, and it just didn't work out.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny that you say that, because earlier as we were talking, when I asked you about how long customers stay, I was ideating of like, well, what if we had a number of different subscription boxes and every customer gets started on number one? That way, like, even if you do have backlog inventory that's no longer in season, like, that's still just the number one box, so we can get rid of it that way. Like, well, this is just introducing. Now we have to store so many different types of sets, and it just became a logistical nightmare because I thought it'd be cooler.
Yeah.
And so I'm sure those conversations happen. We're like, hey, let's get creative to solve this. Like, oh, well, that's not going to work because.
Yeah.
Or you find out,
X, Y, or
we
Z.
try it and it does not work.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hopefully those failures come out in a boardroom rather than in the balance sheet.
Yep. I mean, you always hope. It's one of my operational principles that I drive in my team. Like, fail as early as possible, and that can sound super pessimistic, but if you fail early enough, you have time still to succeed. Right? It's when you get all the way out and you delivered a thing and then it's wrong, right? That's the most possible expensive failure you can have. If you fail anywhere before that, you can still fix it.
Yeah.
Right? And it's a cheaper fix. So yeah, coming out on the boardroom or on a whiteboard or a podcast, a failure, it's a super cheap way to fail. And you got to have a bunch of failures before you get to the end.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree with that. I wish I would have heard that maybe 6 months ago for a project that I've been working on at work that I won't get into the details of. But if I had failed sooner, or just broken down my project into smaller bite-sized portions, I could have realized some of the parts where, oh, there's more to that piece.
Right.
But now a whole project with all these different initiatives bundled up inside of it is kind of being delayed because of a couple pieces of the project had a couple more dependencies. You know, you live and learn.
Yeah.
Fail early.
Fail early. Yeah. And now you know, and you can structure your project or your business or your social life based on based on that. Yeah. Awesome.
Well, let's switch gears just a little bit. So we've been in the MBA program together for a little over a year and a half at this point. I've seen a lot of presentations from you and groups that you've been a part of.
Right.
I'm confident in saying that 100% of them have not looked like traditional pitch decks. And what I mean by that is that I remember one of your presentations, I think this was in our operations class. The slide never changed. It was like a track and field track. And then you had different icons popping up and moving around. And I don't know if you structured it like it was actually different slides in Google Slides or whatever. But I thought it was so fun that like you're almost like watching a video. You know, you're not looking at a pitch deck. So I will say that one was really impressive. And others have also been very stylized and not like white background, black text, as some of the groups that I've been a part of have done. So with that in mind, I've been pretty impressed by your presentations. How do you approach communication in these environments with other executives? Are you using that same flair, or how do you do that?
It depends 100% on the audience, right? Communication should always have a goal, right? We want to accomplish something. We want to communicate something. You got to understand that first.
And in my mind, the goal of communicating is to be understood.
Sure.
So if the other party doesn't understand what you meant, then it was probably on you, right?
Yeah. I would even say that sometimes being understood is just a means to an end. What do you want them to understand, and why do you want them to understand it, right? I want my wife to understand that I love her, but why? Right? Like there's even a deeper level there. Her just understanding that I love her. What I really want is an enriched relationship where I can support and enmesh our lives in a fulfilling way. Right? And her understanding that I love her is one step towards that. So like in a class, right? What is the what? Am I trying to get an A, right? I want to be understood, and if I'm so that I can get a good grade. But what I really want in a lot of those classes is for competent, passionate, excellent individuals like yourself to see me and know who I am and see that I bring value, so that as we go through the future, we know each other. So that's much more the goal. Where if you're
almost to be remembered by the other students.
Which is kind of a weird
like creating a legacy.
Which is kind of a weird thing to say when you put it into words, but I think that. So just being aware of what it is you're trying to accomplish with communication, and then you adjust to that. You got to know your audience. Do they need to be entertained? Like a kind of a counterexample to some of the things that I've done in class. I was going in front of the board and trying to show them that I know how our costs break down. And I put a slide, and I put a dollar bill, and I put chunks of a dollar bill falling off. And I ran it past somebody, and like, this is cute. They're not going to take you serious. Like, you are compromising your credibility by being too fun.
Even though you were accurate.
Even though it was accurate, like, you're right. Like, what is the audience? What is the purpose? What am I trying to do? And I wasn't just trying to make them understand our cost breakdown. I wanted them to trust me as an executive.
And know that you're a real person. Like,
right.
I know what I'm doing, and I'm kind of fun. You can talk to me if you want to.
Right. And so that changed the approach.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think that, and we were talking off camera about this a little bit, but I think that fear holds us back in our lives. And it certainly held me back from, different endeavors and all sorts of things.
Yeah.
But when have you seen a business be held back by fear?
That's always the real trick. And if you're not held back by fear and you take a risk and it fails, you're an idiot, right? Like, you should have known, right? Fear serves a purpose. But if you don't take any risks and you live with fear, you also die. So it's tricky.
So you're also an idiot.
Yeah, you're also an idiot.
You didn't get to live any life. You were too afraid.
Yeah, and living your life in fear. Absolutely, what a waste. I can see some of the ways company has behaved. So afraid of headcount and headcount growth that they would make their executives, like myself, do like the day-to-day nitty-gritty project management and every other piece of it, and then be confused and frustrated when the higher level pieces aren't being done. They're afraid of overextending, and I kind of see that mindset now in myself a little bit, as we're getting to a point where we're bringing on these different fractional specialists. Like, oh, what about the budget? What about the budget? What about the budget? But the truth of the matter is, if you want to expand, if you need an infrastructure, and you've got to step out. Mm-hmm. You've got to step out. But yeah, I've seen that both ways, being so afraid to expand in a way that you just have the whole management team scared to take a risk, and you don't just stagnate, right? You shrink, you contract.
And how do you solve that when you have a whole management team afraid to do something?
Well, there's a answer earlier. You can switch the team. Right, like the sickness can be so deep that you just can't change it. Now you're talking about trust from the other side, right? Employees, all mammals are only really their most productive when they feel safe. Okay, and so if you are going to get reprimanded or slapped for taking risks or making a mistake, you stop acting. So what the very tone at the top needs to be is, whatever form this needs to take, whether that's an explicit conversation that says, I want you to take risks, and I promise that you're employed for a year, no matter what, right? That's kind of sometimes an extreme example. It gives somebody a blank check like that, but that can do a lot to alleviate the cracks. It's like, okay, well, I'm going to make a mistake, and that's okay. It can be something like, I have this much investment money secured, we're not going broke, do what you like, some trust and some transparency. Mm-hmm. And then it also just comes over time, right? People are very aware if other people are getting laid off, if other people are performing well and still get let go, you communicate things. I just had a conversation today with one of the heads of the business unit, talking about some different layoffs and some different things. And I said, you have to be just really careful about what's being communicated to the survivors, right? This team didn't do anything wrong. Why are they being let go? If you're being so callous towards different hours and different people, and we're just overusing this resource, and you build that culture, what does that facilitate, right? It's a lack of trust. So you just have to be, there are necessary decisions that need to be made, but you got to be sensitive and propagate that trust, or you don't get experimentation, you don't get risk taking tone at the top.
Yeah. Yeah, you mentioned the necessary decisions that have to get made. I'm sure that earlier in your career, before you got all those promotions, you had some mentors that either made those necessary decisions for you, or on the smaller scale of decisions that you made, they assisted in making those decisions.
Right.
What role do mentors play for you right now as you have necessary decisions to make?
I love this topic because I wish that I would have had more mentors. Like, I wish I just would have been conscientious and eager about it. A mentor is fantastic because if you get the right one, they've seen the movie before, right? And they can...
Maybe even wrote the script.
Right? Starred in it. And they can help you avoid pitfalls. Things that after you lived through them are just common sense. When you're completely wide-eyed, you just have no idea, and you just don't know what you don't know. A good mentor is absolutely invaluable, and that's what I've been seeking a lot. I use the phrase, I'm just hungry for mentorship, right? It's part of why I came to the MBA program. I just want to find people smarter and more capable than I am. That's why I wanted to work with the equity group that owns our company now. Like, I was convinced that those people are smarter than I am, and just get some mentorship. Hungry for it. There's can't talk about how the right teacher in the right place can make all of the difference in the world.
Yeah. So you're talking to younger Levi before the promotions.
Yeah.
What would you tell him about finding those mentors?
I would say, number one, do it. I would say, don't think that you're so smart. Don't buy into what everybody is saying here. You don't need to know everything. You need to admit that you don't know everything. And also, don't sit around and wait to be rescued. Right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of romance kind of behind the idea that I'm going to work hard and catch somebody's eye, and that coach is going to come and find me. 1 in a million, right? You need to own your own destiny. Don't wait to be seen. Find somebody and either ask them to be your mentor, follow them around, right? Proactively seek it out. If you're waiting to be rescued or to bump into a mentor, you just might not get one.
Yeah, I think that brings up an interesting point about self-promotion. I think I've been in bigger companies, listed on public companies.
Yeah.
I've been at smaller private companies with a board, smaller private companies with just an owner,
right,
and some executives. And then also, micro businesses where I work for a family member. So I've been at a pretty big range of companies.
Yeah.
And I think one of the difficult parts as a young professional is, how do I be humble, but also tell people when I've done something right. And I think it kind of speaks to what you just said of don't wait to be rescued.
Right.
And in the same way, I think as a young professional, trying to be successful but also humble, don't wait to communicate your accomplishments.
Yeah.
Because if you don't, someone else who was adjacent to it will communicate your accomplishments, but they get the credit for it.
Right.
I've seen that happen to myself and other teams. And I think when it comes to finding a mentor, you need to be proactive.
Right.
When it comes to promoting yourself, it may feel yucky, or whatever word we might want to use there.
Yeah.
It may feel slimy to say, like, oh, I did this. But I think there's a balance of finding a way to say, hey, I accomplished this thing, and to proactively communicate that while also being humble. And I think that's probably necessary in finding a mentor, because they need to know this person is worth mentoring as well.
Right. Yeah. They have to see your potential and your value. Yeah, absolutely. And that is, and I don't have a great answer for that, right? It's kind of the gratitude versus ambition, humble versus self-promotion. Like, both of those things, where do you find the exact right line? And if you accomplish things and you're honest, that's, so long as you're sincere, I think that's the only real ground to tread. If you exaggerate or, force it into a conversation as opposed to just like,
that's a fun one.
Yeah. As
we all see that.
Yep. Okay, I know what you're doing. Good. Yeah, good for you.
No one asked about that, but thanks.
Yeah. I'm super proud of you. Yeah. But just clear and confident. Yeah, I accomplished this. Or when we were here, we did this. Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. Something that I intentionally do is I say my team is doing this, or we have this meeting, or we did this thing.
Yeah.
At work recently, there's this project that over the past month added an additional $40,000 of MRR, monthly recurring revenue.
Yeah.
That 90, maybe 95% of the work was done by me. However, it was also made successful by our marketing team.
Sure.
And they didn't create the project documents, or like they didn't flesh out the project plan. I made this pitch deck to them to say, hey, I'm going to do this. Will you also run a campaign alongside this? And I have to be honest that while I added this new product feature, if it weren't also for the marketing team, who I asked them to do their part in it too, it would not be about $40,000 of MRR.
Yeah.
It would be, I don't know what the number is, but assuredly less.
It'd be less.
And so that's my team. When I communicate that success. That's
awesome. There's so much wisdom. Nobody succeeds in a vacuum, right? No matter what is said, right? Nobody succeeds in a vacuum. Everybody, it's big or small. It's a team effort. And that's a great approach.
And to be clear, if anyone from work is watching, maybe I didn't do 95% of the work. I'm sure marketing, you guys did way more than I see. Sorry.
Good at it there, yeah.
No, I think that's important. If I were mentoring someone, I would want to see they are not only someone who executes and accomplishes things, but is this person also humble? And I think it's a tough line.
It is a tough.
Because I don't know, if you want to maximize anything, then it is going to be, if I do 1% more, it's no longer maximized. 1% the other direction, it's no longer exactly optimal. And so as someone who thinks in that like analytical way, it's tough to, tread that line. But it is a balancing act. And I think if you're going to fall to one side or the other, it's probably better to be a little too humble than to be a little too boastful.
Yeah. I think that's
probably
wise.
Make more friends that way.
I think that's wise, or you maintain more relationships anyway. Yeah. Agreed.
Well, Levi, if someone wants to reach out to you and have you be their mentor, or just to talk, where can they do that? How can they get a hold of you?
The best place is to look me up on LinkedIn.
Link in description.
Yeah, absolutely. That's I check that all the time. That's the best place to reach out.
Yeah, you're pretty active on LinkedIn.
Yeah, for sure. Several times a day. Yeah. I need to post more. We all need to post more, I guess. But I love it. I'll do it all the time.
Well, is there anything that you're actively looking for? Where if someone sees this video and they're like, I could fill that need. Is there anything your company hiring? You personally looking for anything?
Well, as I mentioned, I'm super hungry for mentorship, particularly right now around better understanding of locus of control, right, and being in charge of your own destiny, like just that whole psychology. I think I wrestle with some people-pleasing tendencies, having like always been eager to succeed and to prove myself. I want to find ways to shift my mindset to be more in control of my own universe. Yeah. Also would love mentorship or direction on leadership. I've really strived to build like a servant leadership style, which has some really, really great benefits and has built some really great relationships and some good successes for me. But I do also see that it's holding me back from being able to do just really higher levels of executive functioning. And
I was planning on ending here, but now what do you mean by that?
Well, I think it rolls into my people pleasing tendencies that I wrestle with. I think, right? Because servant leadership does a really great job of looking out for your team and making sure that they have the resources that they need and that they're protected, and inspires a lot of loyalty. But when you look at a balance sheet and people have to go, right? You need, that servant-based leadership conditioning. Sometimes, if not prevents, slows down the real hard decision-making processes that need to be. And in order to get to some of that real high-level executive functioning, you have to be willing or just capable of seeing shareholder value as your primary drive, and to be human and to be considerate and to act with empathy, of course, but sometimes I get so blinded by taking care of people that I'll lose the picture of what needs to be done. I don't know, that's a weird thing to wrestle with. So yeah, it's a thought.
So someone who knows how to do that.
yeah. Locus of control and
Maybe if there's any gardeners watching,
there you go.
People who do pruning of trees, maybe they could help out.
Absolutely.
At least conceptually.
Perfect.
Awesome. Well, Levi, thanks for coming on.
Thank you so much. This has been a pleasure. You're a scholar and an inspiration to me. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. And if you're better every day, then every day is the best day ever. So it's not bad.
Yeah.
Not bad.